Okay. Hello everyone. The first thing I want to do is see if anyone can hear me, and so if you can hear me, can you let us know that it's coming in loud and clear?
I'm going to do a quick intro. Hi, this is Dylan McLaughlin from Indigenous Rising Media. We're here with Candy Mossett. We're doing a quick update on camp and what's been going on in this constantly evolving state. There's a lot of changes and shifting right now, and I know a lot of people have a lot of questions about how things are going here, what camp looks like, what the weather is like, what the political landscape is like. So we're going to have a conversation with Candy here and get into some of that. So
answer all your questions. No.
So basically, let's talk a little bit about what your role has been here.
I don't know. I'm just kidding. So I've been here since August 15th. I am the Extreme Energy and Just Transition Coordinator with the Indigenous Environmental Network, and I'm also from North Dakota, born and raised, and so I think I've just been helping people understand the history of the place that we're in here with the Oceti Sakowin camp, and just sort of how we have a really long-standing history here, especially as the Wicra and Mandan people. I've been working on media, logistics, politics, just kind of basically being a bridge, I think, has been my role between the different camps, working with the action camps, and working with the kitchens, and just everybody to be able to bring a perspective from a point of view of a local North Dakotan that's been fighting against fracking, but also a person that is in the movement specifically to talk about environmental justice, climate justice, racial inequalities, what that looks like, and kind of just be a caretaker overall. So hopefully I've been able to fulfill that, but I think it's just like several hats that I've been wearing.
Well, let's talk a little bit about, maybe we'll start with what's going on around camp. Maybe you can give a little bit of update about the landscape here at the camp.
Sure. So I had estimates that there were about 1,000 people at the camp, but today I heard an estimate of 2,500 people in the 3 camps that are still here. And when I say 3 camps, I'm talking about Oceti Sakowin right here, the sort of like Rosebud, Sea Cotton Jew just south of Cannonball, and then Sacred Stone, which is further back. So that's what I mean when I say 3 camps. Or Oceti Oyate, or All Nations. It's gotten a couple of facelifts in the past couple of weeks, which is okay. The fact remains that we are here, and that the people that are here are continuing winterization of the camps and are continuing to think ahead into the spring and what it's going to be like out here, you know, being on a floodplain, but also what's going to happen January 2nd. And that's the date that the companies get to renegotiate their contracts with Energy Transfer Partners, the people that are the shareholders. And so it'll be interesting to find out what happens on that date. And then also, of course, January 20th is the inauguration of President-elect Donald Trump. Oh, did I just say that? Yeah, I did. That's so weird.
I know, right? Can I, before we get into
Sure.
into where we are moving towards?
Okay, let me go back to the camera. So what we're doing is like consolidating the kitchens, and we had 11 kitchens operating out here, and those are consolidating into like 3 kitchens, and we're building structures to continue to make sure that the food doesn't freeze because it's really cold and it's snowing.
So let's start with that political landscape a little bit.
Sure.
But let's start going back a little bit. What exactly does, I mean, because I know this is something that a lot of people are trying to clarify. There's been a lot of evolution and change within the December 4th decision. Can you talk a little bit about what that means?
I can talk about it from my perspective, understanding that I am not a political analyst or a lawyer or anything like that, but I do have a perspective on what I think the December 4th decision, what it means. And so I think it's really important for people to understand that the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers didn't just do this out of the kindness of their heart. It was a decision that was made based upon the fact that they had messed up, and that it was something that they kind of had to admit, that there wasn't proper consultation with the tribe, and that there wasn't... These things that were done by Energy Transfer Partners were not done properly in the first place, and that is why they still do not have the permit to bore underneath the Missouri River. It wasn't a flat-out denial. They did not deny the request. If you read the language, it says that they will not grant the easement at this time, and likely not in this location. And so they're looking at the possibility of a reroute, which would take it 10 miles north of Bismarck, North Dakota, which is not something that we're okay with, because that's upstream and stuff will still come downstream to right here. But they did say that they would have an environmental impact statement. It's not a full environmental impact statement over North Dakota, South Dakota, Iowa, and Illinois, the over 1,100 miles, which is what we had asked for. The environmental impact statement would be for the reroute portion only, and then people would have public input and analysis into that. And so basically the people of Bismarck and different people would have a say. So it was probably about half of what we had asked for. But it was still a victory in the sense that, you know, they are recognizing that treaty rights do have a very high level of importance on the scale of tribal nations, and our sovereignty is really important. And so for Standing Rock Sioux Tribe to stand up and say, we did not agree to this, we did not want this, we've been saying since 2012 and definitely since 2014 that we do not support this project, and yet it was just shoved through anyways. And for the Corps to come back and say, okay, well, we do actually have to relook at these things, was all good things. Those were all victorious. So we got a portion of what we wanted, and it's a lot better than this administration just sitting there doing nothing until January 20th, when Trump comes in to the presidency, because then he would just like snap his fingers. He can't do that now. He can't just snap his fingers or sign a piece of paper and boom, it's going to start drilling that day. It's not going to work that way, from my understanding, from the people that I do talk to that have some legal analysis. He has to untie some knots that were put into place as a result of this decision being made. However, the recent conversation with Kelsey Warren, who is the CEO of Energy Transfer Partners, and some of their shareholders and stockholders has been like, oh yeah, Trump is going to get in and we're going to do this and it's going to happen and there's not going to be a reroute. But of course they're going to tell their investors that. Of course they're going to say, we're going to build it and we're not going to reroute, because they don't want to lose any more money. And the investors are really, really nervous as it is, and they should be. Because when this whole thing started, Energy Transfer Partners told them, you know, this is a formality. This permit here is just a formality. We're not going to worry about it. And so it turned out to be a lot more than that. So it was actually a really good thing, and it's a really great thing that the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe, you know, filed the lawsuit and is following through with that. And again, you know, what they will do if they try to come in and do any kind of language in January is file an injunction with their current lawsuit, and that's going to cost more time as well. So it's not just going to be like, boom, they're going to go on that day. Inauguration day.
Yeah. Is there any news or updates on what's happening at the construction site currently?
We did have some drones flying over yesterday, and we did see that the equipment is sitting up there, that there's a section that was dug out. It's a really large section that was dug out. You can see the pipeline, and people are saying, well, they're working and they're not supposed to be. And there has to be a there's a bit confusion. They never said they couldn't work on their property still, where they are located. They never said they couldn't have people up there. They are not allowed to drill underneath the Missouri River legally. And so from all of the input and analysis that I have, they're not drilling. What people see up there is not conducive to them drilling. Again, I can't 100% confirm that, other than to say that people have said they're not drilling, but they are sitting up there, and they are preparing for when they are so confident that they're going to be able to drill. But the corporation is called Michaels Corporation. That's the boring company that's sitting up there. Michaels Corporation has projects all over this country in oil and natural gas, in pipelines and in boring work. And I think that they would be completely foolish to try to illegally drill and completely jeopardize their businesses across the country. They would be shut down. There had been rumors about, you know, just like a $50,000 fine, which is not true. They would not have a $50,000 fine. The last I heard was that the minimum it would be $500,000, but then more than that, it would shut down the project. They would not get the permit and it would not move forward because they are not allowed to illegally bore underneath the Missouri River. So it's not true that they can't work up to the line where the Army Corps is. They can be up there, they can be digging holes and stuff legally. The thing that is the most weary for me is that the cops are still sitting here. Highway 1806 is still blocked. I did see the cops coming up on Turtle Hill again in the past 2 or 3 days, where they weren't there before, and now there's like maybe 1 or 2 vehicles, but it's still really disturbing to see them intentionally desecrating sacred sites. And so a lot of the focus has to remain on why the police are still sitting up there and why the bridge is still barricaded. And this is because they've always told us that the reason they're there is because Energy Transfer Partners, you know, was able to legally be up there because they could work. And it's kind of an interesting thing now. They don't have the permit. They do not have the permit, so why are the police still sitting there? That's a question that everyone should be asking. The Morton County Sheriffs and just the police in general.
Yeah, which leads me to another thought about maintaining the camps here, maintaining the presence. Can you talk a little bit about what you've heard from other people that are motivated to stay or to leave, or what that whole landscape looks like?
I think that it's really good that people are going to be motivated to stay because we don't know what's going to happen in the spring, what it's going to look like in a Trump administration, and they need to know that we're not going to go anywhere and we're not going to just back down. We will be here, and we do not support a reroute. That's just ludicrous. What we support is them shutting down and packing up and leaving, and the Dakota Access Pipeline not being a thing that exists. So that's all they have to do if they want us to leave, you know. They just have to pack up and go and shut down the pipeline and we're good. Like, call it a day. But, you know, we now have to contend with, you know, a Trump administration where he's stacking up his office with known climate deniers. And so we just need to remain here to show a presence. And, you know, the chairman himself in his earlier broadcast, like one of his first ones. Are we okay, Steph?
Yeah.
You're like,
It's kind of getting blurry for some reason, but I think it's okay.
They're messing with us. Anyway, he did say that if we needed people to come back, we would welcome them back. But right now, like tomorrow's high, the high temperature is -13 for the high. So we're talking about wind chills 50 below zero, and people were always asking me this past summer, does that really happen out here? And I'm like, yeah, it does. So anybody that's still here in camp is experiencing that. And we just want to make sure that people are staying warm and that the wood resources that we have and the food resources that we have are going for the people that should stay. But then the other folks should definitely continue the divestment campaigns, and that doesn't have to happen from the camp. That is the bank exit campaigns where we're getting away from TD America, Chase, Wells Fargo. There's a list of 17 banks that you can find on our websites that are invested heavily in the Dakota Access Pipeline. And the most important thing that people can do right now to help in this fight is to make sure that we're divesting from, you know, the banks, the money, where the money's coming from, because that is how we will win, is by hitting them hard in their pocketbooks.
Yeah, which leads me to my next thought of, thoughts of this new administration coming in, and maybe that leading to what are some of the next fights that you see coming up on the horizon?
Oh my gosh. There's a lot of fights that I see coming up because you have the Trump administration already alluding, or his advisors anyway, is already alluding to privatization on native lands for economic reasons, to be able to get resources. And of course they're going to talk about wind and they're going to talk about solar, but the devil's in the details, and what they're after is oil, coal, gas, uranium, all of the fossil fuel resources. That's what they're after. And so I feel like it's not a sovereignty issue. It's more of a, how can we easily get onto these tribal lands and just consult with 1 or 2 tribal members that will give us permission, and then we can do whatever we want. And I'm from North Dakota, like I said. I was born and raised here. I grew up in Newtown and Twin Buttes, and have been fighting fracking in my community since 2008 underneath an Obama administration, and it's been absolutely horrific. Here I go. It's just, I'm thinking about all the bad things that have happened to us already, and I can't even fathom what that looks like in the Trump administration. So I know that the battles are going to be really long. But I also was telling somebody earlier today that we have a lot of hope. Like, that's one thing we can never give up, is our hope, because it exists and it's there, and we have a really good chance of having like a revolution now as a result of this administration. You know, even underneath the Hillary Clinton administration, it might have been a lot more sneaky, and there might have been more underhanded tactics and, you know, death by 1,000 cuts. Whereas in the Trump administration, it's just all out there. It's just in your face. You know he's a climate denier. You know he's trying to stack his administration with climate deniers. And people are going to have to wake up and come together to be able to fight back against like 700 steps backwards in the wrong direction, based on what we know about the climate crisis. And I had a reporter ask me earlier, I think it was from NBC News, he was like, what do you think about this? What do you think about Trump and privatization? And what do you think about, you know, the representatives on his advisory council that are climate deniers? And I said something to the effect of, I think that the climate deniers need to be re-educated and not only use, they don't even need common sense in this case, because all of the climate change impacts are based in scientific fact. It is undeniable. You don't need to listen to some random person that grew up on a reservation. You don't even need to listen to your own family members. You can look at the scientific data and the analysis and see that climate change is real and is happening. And so it's just a matter of us coming together and not being afraid to speak up. I have a lot of friends and a lot of people that say, oh, I don't like politics, and oh, I just hate politicians, they don't represent me. And I get it, because I was in that same place before too, but we do have to use our collective voices together to be able to fight back against what is coming over these next 4 years. Whether we like it or not, we're going to have to really push back on some of the negative policies, because I have no doubt that Trump is going to do what he said he was going to do and create jobs, but those jobs are going to be in the dirty industries. It's like trying to bring back coal and you know, creating jobs in a way that hurts the planet. It harms the air, the water, the soil. Those are our greatest natural resources, the ones that need to be protected. And by working in the fossil fuel industry and creating more jobs there, we're allowing those to continue to be poisoned, and thus ourselves. I feel like everybody knows that, but I just feel like we cannot possibly do it alone. We need a lot of people to come together in this revolution to push back against what we're up against. I think it's probably going to get worse before it gets better. But you know, sometimes you have to hit the bottom of the barrel before you can crawl your way back up, or the bottom. And if Donald Trump presidency isn't rock bottom, then I really don't know what is. So we're gonna hit bottom, and then we're gonna go back up. So yay! It'll be good. We just have some work to do.
Great. How about we go check in on how the weather's doing outside?
Yes, let's check the weather, because it's interesting. So if you guys want to follow us, we're in our nice, warm, I don't even know what I have. I'm sweating, but I have my jacket on because we were going to go outside. And so we're going to go out of our yurt here, which is awesome. We still have this was made for us. We stand by you. It's all handmade. We have a pot of ginger miso bone broth soup boiling over here, waiting for our friends. And I'm just going to put my hood on. What's the temperature right now? Like -1 or something?
Oh, I don't know. Let's go find out.
But with the wind chill, it's cold. So let's go check this out. Watch your head twice. I always tell people, this is our little Arctic entry way. It's starting to get dark. Woo. and they're still over on the hill, and everybody for the most part is pretty much, you know, in their little homes, staying warm by their wood fires. And what we're worried about is tonight and tomorrow, when the high is supposed to be -13 with a 50 below wind chill because of the winds. So right now it's actually not too bad, although it's cold. So Dylan has no gloves on. Very smart, Dylan. But was there any questions that you saw come up?
There's a lot. I mean, a lot of people are vocalizing support. A lot of people are vocalizing the complexity.
It's very complex.
Yeah. But
I'm cold now.
Alright, thanks Candy for checking in with us.
You're welcome. So yeah, people that want to support can still support by going to Indigenous Rising Media and following us here. You can also support at indigenousrising.org. You can also continue to support the camp directly at Oceti Sakowin camp.org. You can support Sacred Stone at sacredstonecamp.org, and there is money that the tribe is collecting directly at standwithstandingrock.net. So you have a variety of places that you can contribute to if you want to continue to help the cause. We will need money for the Legal Defense Fund because these legal cases are going to be continuing for a long time. And my lips are going to fall off right now. It's actually really cold after you've been out here for 5 seconds.
Okay, thanks Candy.
Dylan, do you want to say anything?
No, I'm going to show them camp. So those are the lights that have been put in place a couple months ago. Still very much there. It's really cold.
It's a long way to the compost toilets from here. So at night it's really terrible. You have to go all the way. It's not that far, but when it's like 50 below, it's kind of far to go to the compost toilets, but they're nice and warm. Yay, compost toilets. And then, yeah.
Alright, thanks everybody.
Bye.
This has been an update from Indigenous Rising Media with Candy Mossett.
Peace out.
Take care. Keep supporting. Keep fighting where you are. Thanks.